From sandwiches without corners to ravens protecting the entire kingdom, the British royal family follows some of the most bizarre protocols imaginable. These aren't just suggestions, they're centuries-old traditions that govern everything from what words they can say to how they must be weighed after Christmas dinner. Behind the palace gates lies a world of secret handbag signals, mandatory baptisms, and rules so strange they'd make even the strictest parents seem lenient. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about royal rules that cannot be broken. Fact 1. Christmas weigh-ins are mandatory. Every year at Sandringham Estate, the royal family participates in one of their most bizarre holiday traditions that sounds like something straight out of a Victorian novel. Before sitting down to their lavish Christmas dinner, each family member must step onto an antique set of scales to record their weight, and then they must weigh themselves again immediately after the meal is finished. The goal is simple but strange. Everyone is expected to have gained at least 3 to 5 pounds during the feast to prove they properly enjoyed themselves and fully indulged in the holiday celebrations. This peculiar custom dates all the way back to King Edward VII in the early 1900s, when the corpulent monarch wanted to ensure his guests were eating well and having a good time at his Christmas gatherings. Edward VII was known for his love of extravagant meals and believed that weight gain was the ultimate compliment to his hospitality. So he installed the tradition as a way to measure his success as a host. The practice has continued through generations of royals, becoming one of those unwritten rules that nobody dares to break, despite how uncomfortable it might make modern guests feel. The weigh-in takes place in the drawing room at Sandringham, where staff members carefully record each person's before and after measurements in a ledger. Family members queue up one by one, stepping onto the ornate scales while others wait their turn. And there's apparently a sense of friendly competition about who can gain the most weight during the meal. Former staff members have described the tradition as both amusing and awkward, especially for newcomers to the family who aren't prepared for such an intimate and public ritual. Meghan Markle reportedly experienced this tradition during her first Christmas with the royal family in 2017, just weeks after her engagement to Prince Harry was announced. The Duchess of Sussex later described her surprise at the unusual custom in interviews, noting how different it was from anything she had experienced growing up in California. Despite the strangeness of the tradition, it remains a firm fixture of royal Christmas celebrations, and every family member is expected to participate without complaint or exception. Fact 2. The monarch must approve marriages. In a rule that gives the reigning monarch extraordinary control over the personal lives of their family members, the first 6 people in the line of succession to the British throne cannot legally marry anyone without receiving formal written consent from the king or queen. This isn't just a casual family approval or a polite tradition where the monarch gives their blessing at a dinner table conversation. It's actually enshrined in British law through the Royal Marriages Act of 1772, which was established by King George III after his brother made what the king considered to be an unsuitable marriage that embarrassed the royal family. Under this law, if any of the top 6 heirs decide to marry without the monarch's official permission, they automatically forfeit their place in the line of succession and lose all rights to inherit the throne. The consent must come in the form of a legal document called an instrument of consent, which is a beautifully decorated certificate signed and sealed by the reigning monarch with the Great Seal of the realm. This document is then presented to the Privy Council and becomes part of the official royal records, making the marriage legally recognized within the framework of royal succession. The rule was updated slightly in 2013 with the Succession to the Crown Act, which reduced the number of people requiring consent from all descendants of King George II down to just the first 6 in line. This change came about because the original law had become increasingly impractical, as there were literally hundreds of distant royal relatives who technically needed permission to marry under the old system. However, the core principle remains the same. The monarch has absolute veto power over marriages that could affect the succession, and this power cannot be overruled by Parliament or any other authority. When Prince Harry married Meghan Markle in 2018, Queen Elizabeth II signed an elaborate instrument of consent that was displayed at the wedding and featured intricate artwork depicting roses, thistles, and California poppies to represent both families. Similarly, Prince William's marriage to Catherine Middleton in 2011 required the Queen's formal approval, which she granted with an ornate document that took royal artists weeks to create. The tradition continues today under King Charles III, who now holds this power over his children and grandchildren. Fact 3. Two heirs cannot travel together. One of the most serious safety protocols within the royal family is the rule preventing direct heirs to the throne from traveling together on the same aircraft. And this regulation exists to protect the line of succession in the event of a catastrophic plane crash or other disaster. The logic behind this rule is straightforward. If multiple heirs died simultaneously in an accident, it could throw the entire monarchy into constitutional crisis and potentially destabilize the government, so the family takes extensive precautions to ensure this scenario never happens. The rule technically applies to the first and second in line to the throne, which currently means King Charles and Prince William should never fly together, and it becomes even stricter when 3 generations of direct heirs are involved. When Prince William wants to travel with his son, Prince George, who is second in line to the throne after William himself, he must formally request special permission from the reigning monarch to break this protocol. Queen Elizabeth II granted these exceptions on several occasions when Prince George was young, but she made it clear that once George reaches the age of 12, he will be required to travel separately from his father on all official trips without exception. Former royal pilot Graham Laurie confirmed this rule in interviews, explaining that the Royal Air Force and royal travel coordinators take succession planning extremely seriously when arranging flights for family members. During official tours and state visits, careful logistics must be planned to ensure heirs travel on different planes, often departing at different times or taking different routes to the same destination. This can create significant complications for family travel, especially when young children are involved, but the monarchy considers it a non-negotiable security measure that has been in place for generations. The rule became particularly relevant after Prince George's birth in 2013, when royal watchers began speculating about how the family would navigate travel restrictions as George grew older. Prince William reportedly finds the rule frustrating because it means he cannot always travel with his entire family, but he understands the reasoning behind it and has accepted that George will need to fly separately once he enters his teenage years. Some royal experts believe the rule might be relaxed slightly in the future as aviation safety continues to improve, but for now it remains one of the firmest protocols within the royal family. Fact 4. The Queen's handbag sends secret signals. Queen Elizabeth II carried her iconic Launer London handbag with her to virtually every public engagement throughout her 70-year reign, and it turns out the bag served a far more important purpose than simply holding her lipstick and reading glasses. According to multiple former royal staff members and historians who studied her public appearances, the Queen used subtle movements of her handbag to send coded signals to her staff about her needs and feelings during events, creating an entire silent communication system that allowed her to control situations without ever saying a word. The most well-known signal involved the Queen switching her handbag from one arm to the other during conversations with guests at receptions and state dinners. When she moved the bag from her left arm to her right arm, this was a clear message to her lady-in-waiting that she wanted to be rescued from whatever conversation she was currently having within the next 5 minutes. Her staff would then politely interrupt and inform the Queen of some urgent matter that required her attention elsewhere, giving her a graceful exit from boring or uncomfortable discussions without causing offense to her guests. An even more urgent signal occurred when the Queen placed her handbag on the floor or on a nearby table, which meant she needed to escape from the situation immediately rather than waiting for a polite interruption. This rarely used gesture indicated genuine distress or extreme boredom, and her staff knew to intervene within seconds of seeing the bag leave her hands. Royal historian Hugo Vickers confirmed these signals in multiple interviews, explaining that the Queen developed this system early in her reign because she often found herself trapped in lengthy conversations with dignitaries and politicians who didn't understand when it was time to move along. The handbag signals also extended to smaller gestures, such as the Queen fidgeting with the clasp or handles to indicate mild discomfort, or placing it prominently on her lap during meals to signal she was ready for the next course to be served. Her staff became so attuned to these movements that they could read her needs from across a crowded room, ensuring she always remained comfortable and in control during public appearances. The system was so effective that Queen Elizabeth used it until her final public engagements, and many royal watchers now study footage of her events specifically to spot these subtle handbag communications in action. Fact 5. 6 ravens must guard the Tower. At the Tower of London, one of Britain's most famous historic landmarks, there exists a bizarre superstition that has been taken seriously by the monarchy for more than 300 years. According to legend and royal decree, at least 6 ravens must remain at the tower at all times, because if the ravens ever leave, the crown will fall and Britain itself will crumble into ruin. This prophecy is attributed to King Charles II in the 17th century, and despite how ridiculous it might sound to modern ears, the royal family and the British government continue to maintain a full-time staff position dedicated solely to caring for these birds and preventing the prophecy from coming true. The legend supposedly began when King Charles II was told by his advisors that the ravens living at the tower were disturbing the work of the Royal Observatory that was located there at the time. The king considered removing the birds entirely, but his astronomer, John Flamsteed, warned him that doing so would bring terrible misfortune to the kingdom. Charles II took this warning seriously and issued a royal decree that at least 6 ravens must be kept at the tower permanently, and he even moved the Royal Observatory to Greenwich instead of risking the removal of the birds. Whether this story is historically accurate or was invented later remains unclear, but the tradition has persisted through every reign since then, without interruption. Today, the Tower of London employs an official Raven Master, currently a position held by Yeoman Warder Christopher Scaife, whose full-time job involves feeding the ravens, monitoring their health, and ensuring they don't fly away from the tower grounds. To prevent the birds from leaving, the Raven Master carefully trims one wing on each raven so they cannot achieve full flight, though they can still hop and flutter around the tower complex. The ravens are fed a diet of raw meat, bird biscuits soaked in blood, and the occasional whole rabbit, and they each have their own name and distinct personality that the Raven Master knows intimately. There are actually 7 ravens kept at the tower rather than the minimum of 6, providing one spare bird in case anything happens to the others. The birds have occasionally gone missing over the centuries, causing genuine concern among staff and officials, and during World War II, the raven population dropped to just one bird named Grip, which caused significant anxiety about whether Britain could survive the war. New ravens were quickly brought in to restore the required number, and the tradition has been maintained carefully ever since, with the birds now serving as one of the tower's main tourist attractions, while still being taken seriously as guardians of the realm. Fact 6. Garlic is banned from royal menus. For decades, the royal kitchens at Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, and all other royal residences operated under a strict culinary ban that would horrify most professional chefs and food lovers. Garlic was absolutely forbidden from every dish served to Queen Elizabeth II, and by extension, banned from nearly all royal meals during her reign. This wasn't a personal allergy or a health concern, but rather a matter of social etiquette and the Queen's strong feelings about maintaining pleasant breath during her constant interactions with dignitaries, politicians, and members of the public. Former royal chef Darren McGrady, who served the royal family for 15 years and cooked for Queen Elizabeth, Princess Diana, and Princes William and Harry, confirmed this unusual restriction in numerous interviews after leaving royal service. McGrady explained that the Queen specifically disliked the lingering smell and taste that garlic left in a person's mouth, and she felt it was inappropriate for members of the royal family to have noticeably strong breath during official engagements where they would be speaking closely with guests and standing in receiving lines for hours at a time. The ban extended to raw onions as well, and chefs were instructed to use them only sparingly in cooked dishes where the pungency would be significantly reduced. This restriction created interesting challenges for the royal chefs, who had to find creative ways to add flavor to dishes without relying on one of the most fundamental ingredients in classic French and Mediterranean cuisine. McGrady noted that they compensated by using fresh herbs like parsley, thyme, and rosemary, along with shallots, which provided a milder onion flavor that the Queen found more acceptable. The ban was taken so seriously that even when preparing dishes that traditionally required garlic, such as certain Italian or French recipes, the chefs would simply omit it entirely rather than risk the Queen's disapproval. Interestingly, the garlic ban was specific to Queen Elizabeth's preferences and didn't necessarily apply to other family members when they dined privately or away from the Queen. Prince Charles, now King Charles III, was known to be more adventurous with his food choices and didn't maintain the same restriction, and Princess Diana reportedly enjoyed garlic in her meals when eating separately from the Queen. However, during formal state dinners and official events where the Queen was present, everyone followed her rules about garlic to maintain consistency and avoid any awkwardness. Now that King Charles has assumed the throne, royal watchers are curious whether this particular culinary ban will continue or if garlic might finally make its way back onto royal menus after decades of exile. Fact 7. All royal babies must be baptized. Every child born into the British royal family must be baptized in the Church of England, and this requirement isn't just a family tradition or religious preference that can be negotiated or declined. It's actually a constitutional necessity because the reigning monarch serves as the supreme governor of the Church of England, a position established by King Henry VIII in the 16th century when he broke from the Roman Catholic Church. Any heir to the throne must be a member of the Church of England to fulfill their future role as its head, which means baptism in the Anglican faith is non-negotiable for royal babies who are in the line of succession. The christening ceremonies themselves follow extremely specific protocols that have been maintained for generations, with certain traditional elements that never change regardless of the era or the individual family's preferences. Most notably, the babies are baptized using water from the River Jordan, the same river where Christians believe Jesus Christ was baptized by John the Baptist over 2,000 years ago. The Archbishop of Canterbury, who is the senior bishop of the Church of England, personally travels to the Holy Land to collect this sacred water in special containers, and it's then transported back to Britain specifically for royal christenings. The babies wear a replica of an elaborate christening gown that was originally created for Queen Victoria's eldest daughter in 1841 and was used for royal baptisms for 163 years until it became too fragile to continue using. In 2004, Queen Elizabeth II commissioned an exact replica of the Victorian gown, which is made of fine Honiton lace and takes royal dressmakers months to create. This replica has been worn by every royal baby christened since 2008, including Prince George, Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis, and Archie Mountbatten-Windsor, maintaining a direct link to royal history that stretches back nearly 2 centuries. The christening ceremonies typically take place in private chapels at Windsor Castle or Buckingham Palace, with only close family members and a small number of godparents in attendance, making them some of the most exclusive and intimate royal events. Unlike royal weddings or state occasions that might be broadcast to the public, christenings remain strictly private affairs, with only a few official photographs released afterward to satisfy public interest. The baptismal font used for these ceremonies is a stunning piece of royal history itself. The Lily font, created in 1840 for the baptism of Queen Victoria's first child, which is made of silver gilt and features elaborate decorations of cherubs and floral designs. This precious font is normally kept at the Tower of London with the crown jewels, but is transported under armed guard to wherever the christening will take place. Fact 8. Certain words are strictly forbidden. Within the upper echelons of British aristocracy and the royal family, there exists an unwritten but rigidly enforced linguistic code that dictates which words are acceptable in polite conversation and which words immediately mark the speaker as common or lower class. These vocabulary rules are taken so seriously that using the wrong term for everyday objects and concepts is considered almost as jarring and offensive as using actual profanity. And royal children are taught the proper terminology from their earliest years to ensure they never make these crucial social mistakes in public. The most famous example of these forbidden words involves the bathroom, where members of the royal family must always say lavatory or occasionally loo, but never under any circumstances use the word toilet, which is considered hopelessly middle class and vulgar by aristocratic standards. The reasoning behind this particular snobbery is murky, but etiquette experts suggest it relates to historical class divisions when upper-class families used French-derived terms, while working-class people used more direct Anglo-Saxon words. Similarly, royals must say sofa rather than couch, writing paper rather than stationery, and sitting room or drawing room rather than lounge, all of which serve as immediate social markers that separate the upper class from everyone else. Food-related terminology is particularly fraught with class distinctions, with perhaps the most important rule being that the final course of a meal must always be called pudding, regardless of what's actually being served, never dessert or afters or sweet. Even if the dish is clearly a cake or ice cream rather than an actual pudding, the term remains unchanged, and saying dessert would immediately identify you as an American or nouveau riche. Other banned food words include pardon instead of sorry, or what, serviette instead of napkin, and dinner when referring to the midday meal, which should properly be called lunch, while dinner refers only to the evening meal. These linguistic rules were documented extensively by anthropologist Kate Fox in her book about English class culture, and she noted that members of the royal family follow these conventions more strictly than almost anyone else in Britain because they're constantly being observed and judged by both their social peers and the general public. Royal etiquette expert William Hanson has confirmed in numerous interviews that these vocabulary distinctions remain very much in force today, and that newcomers to the royal family like Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton had to learn the proper terminology as part of their preparation for royal life. The rules can seem absurdly petty and snobbish to outsiders, but within aristocratic circles, using the wrong word can genuinely damage someone's social standing and mark them as an outsider who doesn't belong in upper-class society. Fact 9. Everyone must stop eating. When the monarch stops. During formal dinners at royal residences, there exists a strict protocol that can leave guests hungry and frustrated if they happen to be slow eaters. The moment the reigning monarch puts down their fork and knife to signal they're finished with a course, every other person at the table must immediately stop eating as well, even if they've barely touched their food. This rule applies to everyone from the most important foreign dignitaries to members of the royal family themselves, and there are no exceptions or allowances made for anyone who might need a bit more time to finish their meal. The tradition dates back centuries to an era when monarchs wielded absolute power, and every aspect of royal dining was designed to demonstrate the sovereign's supreme authority over their household and guests. The logic was simple. If the king or queen was satisfied with a course and ready to move on, then everyone else should be equally satisfied, regardless of how much they'd actually consumed. In practical terms, this meant that servers would immediately begin clearing plates from the entire table as soon as the monarch finished, and the next course would be brought out without any delay or consideration for those who hadn't finished eating yet. Queen Elizabeth II was well aware of this rule and its potential to cause discomfort among her guests, so she reportedly made a conscious effort to eat slowly during formal dinners to give everyone adequate time to finish their food. Former staff members have recounted that the Queen would deliberately pace herself during state banquets, taking smaller bites and pausing frequently to engage in conversation, specifically to prevent the awkward situation of guests losing their meals before they were ready. However, she also had a reputation for eating quickly when dining privately or during less formal occasions, which meant family members and close friends had to learn to keep up with her pace if they wanted to finish their dinner. The rule creates particular challenges during elaborate multi-course state dinners that might include 7 or 8 different courses served over several hours. Guests who are nervous or distracted by conversation might find themselves falling behind the monarch's pace, and they must make quick decisions about whether to eat more quickly or simply accept that certain courses will be taken away before they're finished. Foreign dignitaries visiting Britain for the first time are carefully briefed about this protocol by their embassy staff before attending royal dinners, because violating it by continuing to eat after the monarch has stopped would be considered a serious breach of etiquette that could cause embarrassment for everyone involved. The tradition continues today under King Charles III, though observers note that he tends to eat even more quickly than his mother did, which means guests now have to be especially vigilant about keeping pace during royal meals. Fact 10. Boys must wear shorts. Until age 8, in one of the most visible and peculiar fashion traditions within the British royal family, young princes and other aristocratic boys are required to wear shorts with knee-high socks rather than long trousers until they reach approximately 8 years old, regardless of the weather or the formality of the occasion. This rule has been strictly maintained for generations, and royal watchers can chart the growth of young princes by noting when they make the ceremonial transition from shorts to trousers, which represents their passage from early childhood into their pre-teen years. The tradition has its roots in a practice called breeching that dates back to the 16th century, when wealthy boys in Western Europe wore dresses or gowns during their very early childhood before transitioning to breeches, which were knee-length trousers that preceded modern pants. The age of breeching gradually decreased over the centuries, and by the Victorian era, it had become a significant milestone that typically occurred around age 4 to 8, with the exact timing depending on the family's assessment of the boy's maturity and development. For aristocratic families, continuing to dress boys in shorts rather than full-length trousers became a way to distinguish upper-class children from middle and working-class boys who wore long pants from a much younger age. Royal etiquette expert William Hanson has explained that within upper-class British society, putting young boys in long trousers before they reach an appropriate age is considered suburban and distinctly middle class, suggesting parents who are trying too hard to make their children look grown up and sophisticated. The continued use of shorts for young royal boys is therefore not just a quaint tradition, but actually a deliberate class marker that signals the family's confidence in their social position and their adherence to aristocratic norms that have been maintained for centuries. Photos of Prince George, Prince Louis, and other young royals consistently show them wearing shorts at formal events like weddings, christenings, and official photo calls, even when adult attendees are dressed in heavy formal wear. The rule applies specifically to boys, while young royal girls can wear tights and dresses of various lengths from an early age without the same restrictions. Some critics of the tradition argue that it's outdated and potentially uncomfortable for the boys, especially during cold British weather when they're photographed at outdoor events with bare legs exposed to the elements. However, defenders of the practice point out that it's no different from the many other protocols and traditions that define royal life, and that the boys are always provided with warm coats and appropriate layering, even if their legs remain uncovered. The transition from shorts to long trousers remains a significant moment for royal boys, with Prince George's eventual switch to trousers being anticipated by royal fashion watchers as a symbol of his growing maturity and his progression toward his future role as king. Fact 11. Black outfits must always be packed. every single member of the British royal family must pack at least one complete black mourning outfit whenever they travel abroad, and this rule is absolutely non-negotiable, regardless of whether they're going on a brief weekend trip or an extended tour lasting several weeks. The outfit must include everything necessary for a formal mourning appearance, including black clothing, black shoes, black accessories, and for women, an appropriate black hat and veil that would be suitable for a funeral or memorial service. This seemingly paranoid protocol exists because of an embarrassing and traumatic incident that occurred early in Queen Elizabeth II's reign, when she was still Princess Elizabeth and heir to the throne. In 1952, the young princess was on an official tour of Kenya with her husband Prince Philip when her father, King George VI, died unexpectedly at Sandringham House in England. Elizabeth immediately became queen upon her father's death, but she was stuck in Kenya, wearing the light-colored, cheerful clothing appropriate for a colonial tour, with no black mourning attire available anywhere in the remote location where she was staying. The new queen was forced to remain on the plane at the airport after arriving back in Britain, waiting in uncomfortable limbo while staff rushed to bring her appropriate black clothing before she could disembark and face the cameras and crowds that had gathered to witness her arrival as the new monarch. The delay and the logistical scrambling caused additional distress during an already devastating time, and it created an embarrassing situation where the newly crowned queen couldn't even leave her plane to begin her duties because she lacked the proper attire to show respect for her deceased father. Queen Elizabeth was deeply affected by this experience and immediately established the black outfit rule to ensure no member of her family would ever face a similar situation. The protocol means that if any royal family member dies while others are traveling abroad, those traveling royals can immediately dress in appropriate mourning attire and conduct themselves with the dignity and respect expected of the monarchy, without any awkward delays or scrambling for proper clothing. The rule has been tested several times over the decades, including when Prince Philip died in 2021, though fortunately no senior royals were traveling abroad at that particular moment. The black outfit requirement extends beyond just the immediate royal family to include working royals and senior members of the extended family who represent the crown at official events. Staff members who travel with the royals are also required to pack mourning attire, ensuring that everyone in the royal party can immediately transition to appropriate dress if tragedy strikes. While the rule might seem morbid or overly cautious to outsiders, it represents the kind of careful planning and protocol that has allowed the British monarchy to maintain its dignity and composure through countless crises over the past century. Fact 12. No autographs can ever be signed. Members of the British royal family are strictly forbidden from signing autographs for fans or members of the public under any circumstances. And this ban is one of the most firmly enforced rules of royal protocol that applies from the moment someone becomes a working royal. The prohibition isn't based on snobbery or a desire to seem distant from ordinary people, but rather stems from serious security concerns about forgery and the potential misuse of royal signatures on unofficial documents. The risk is straightforward. If royals regularly signed their names on photographs, books, or scraps of paper for fans, it would create numerous authentic examples of their signatures in public circulation. Forgers could then use these authentic signatures to practice copying the royals' handwriting, potentially enabling them to forge official documents, checks, or legal papers that could be used for fraud or other criminal purposes. Given that royal signatures carry significant weight on official government documents, treaties, and legal instruments, the monarchy takes this threat extremely seriously and has maintained the no autograph rule for generations. Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, encountered this rule in a charming and well-documented incident during a royal walkabout when young school children asked her to sign their books and papers. Rather than simply refusing, which might have disappointed the children, Catherine handled the situation with grace and humor by telling them, "I can't write my name, but I can draw." She then proceeded to sketch simple pictures for the children instead, giving them a unique memento from their encounter with royalty without violating the signature prohibition. This creative solution has since become something of a template for how royals handle autograph requests from children and other earnest fans. The rule does allow for one specific exception. Royals can and do sign official documents, guest books at formal events, and legal papers that are part of their official duties. These signatures are witnessed and recorded properly, and they serve legitimate governmental or ceremonial purposes, rather than being casual autographs given to members of the public. When visiting foreign countries or attending state functions, royals regularly sign elaborate guest books and documents of historical significance. But even these signatures are carefully controlled and documented to maintain their security and authenticity. Some royals have found other creative ways to connect with fans without signing autographs, including posing for selfies, which became more common during Queen Elizabeth's later years and continues under King Charles III. While selfies present their own security and privacy considerations, they're generally considered less risky than signatures because they're clearly informal photographs rather than documents that could be misused. The no autograph rule occasionally frustrates devoted royal fans who collect memorabilia and would treasure an authentic signature. But the monarchy has shown no signs of relaxing this protocol, viewing it as a necessary security measure in an age of increasingly sophisticated forgery techniques. Fact 13. Shellfish is banned when traveling. When members of the British royal family travel abroad for official state visits or royal tours, they operate under strict dietary restrictions designed to prevent the nightmare scenario of important representatives of the crown becoming seriously ill while representing Britain on foreign soil. The most notable of these restrictions is a complete ban on eating shellfish, including shrimp, lobster, oysters, clams, mussels, and any other seafood that comes from a shell, regardless of how fresh or well-prepared it might be or how prestigious the restaurant or venue serving it. The reasoning behind the shellfish ban is entirely practical and based on decades of experience with food safety during international travel. Shellfish are filter feeders that can accumulate bacteria, viruses, and toxins from the water they inhabit, making them significantly more likely than other foods to cause food poisoning, even when they appear fresh and are prepared by skilled chefs following proper safety procedures. Royal protocol officers determined long ago that the risk of a senior royal becoming violently ill from contaminated shellfish during a critical diplomatic mission simply wasn't worth taking, especially considering the potential embarrassment and diplomatic complications that could result from such an incident. The dietary restrictions extend beyond just shellfish to include other high-risk foods such as rare or undercooked meat, which could contain harmful bacteria like Salmonella or E. coli and tap water in countries where water safety standards might not match those of Britain. Royals traveling abroad are instructed to drink only bottled water or beverages that have been properly boiled, and they must avoid raw vegetables and fruits that might have been washed in local tap water unless they can be peeled. These precautions might seem excessive, but they reflect the reality that digestive illnesses can strike even the most careful travelers, and the consequences of a royal falling ill during a state visit could be far-reaching. King Charles III has added his own dietary restrictions to royal travel, banning foie gras from all royal residences in 2008 due to his concerns about the welfare of the geese and ducks used in foie gras production. This ban applies both at home and during official functions, and caterers preparing meals for royal events must ensure that no foie gras appears on the menu, regardless of local culinary traditions. The king is known for his environmental and animal welfare advocacy, and this particular ban reflects his personal values becoming part of official royal protocol. The food restrictions can create diplomatic challenges when royals visit countries where shellfish or other banned foods are considered delicacies and might be served as a sign of respect and hospitality at official state dinners. In these situations, royal staff work closely with local officials to plan menus that honor local culinary traditions while adhering to the safety protocols that protect the royals from potential illness. The royals themselves become quite practiced at politely declining certain dishes or moving food around their plates to appear as though they're eating without actually consuming risky items, maintaining diplomatic courtesy while following their strict dietary guidelines. Fact 14. Sandwiches cannot have square corners. In the royal kitchens at Buckingham Palace and other royal residences, chefs must follow a peculiar rule when preparing even the simplest foods. Whenever sandwiches are made for members of the royal family, the corners must be carefully cut off to create round or oval-shaped sandwiches rather than the traditional square or rectangular form that most people are accustomed to seeing. This seemingly pointless detail has been part of royal food preparation for generations, and staff are trained to never serve a sandwich with pointed corners to anyone in the royal family. Former royal chef Graham Newbold, who worked in the royal kitchens during Queen Elizabeth II's reign, revealed this unusual tradition in interviews after leaving royal service. According to Newbold, the practice of cutting corners off sandwiches stems from old superstitions about food safety and the fear of someone attempting to sabotage or poison the crown by hiding dangerous materials in the pointed corners of sandwiches where they might not be noticed during food preparation. Whether this concern was ever based on actual threats or was simply paranoid protocol from a more dangerous era remains unclear, but the tradition has persisted long after any rational justification for it has disappeared. The corner cutting rule applies to all sandwiches served at royal residences, from elaborate afternoon tea presentations to simple snacks prepared for private family meals. Royal chefs use special cutters and techniques to ensure the edges are smooth and rounded, and they take pride in creating sandwiches that are not only delicious, but also aesthetically pleasing and properly shaped according to royal standards. The removed corners and crusts are never wasted, but are instead typically saved and used for other purposes in the kitchen or occasionally fed to the royal corgis and other palace pets. This particular quirk of royal food service falls into the same category as many other seemingly arbitrary protocols that govern life within the monarchy, where traditions are maintained simply because they've always been done that way, and changing them would represent a break from centuries of established practice. Modern food safety standards and rigorous security screening of everyone who handles royal food have made the original security concerns behind the cornerless sandwich rule completely obsolete. But the monarchy is notoriously resistant to abandoning traditions even when they no longer serve any practical purpose. The rule continues today under King Charles III, and royal chefs still carefully round off every sandwich corner just as their predecessors did decades and centuries before them. Fact 15. Monopoly is forbidden at royal homes. In one of the most unexpected and amusing royal prohibitions, the classic board game Monopoly is officially banned from being played at any royal residence, and this unusual rule applies to Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Sandringham, Balmoral, and anywhere else the royal family might gather for leisure time. The ban isn't based on moral objections to the game's capitalist themes or concerns about gambling, but rather stems from the royal family's own experiences playing Monopoly together, which apparently became so competitive and emotionally intense that it threatened to damage family relationships. Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, publicly confirmed this bizarre rule during a visit to Leeds in 2008, when he was presented with a Monopoly set as a gift during an official engagement. Rather than graciously accepting the game, Andrew laughed and told the crowd, "We're not allowed to play Monopoly at home. It gets too vicious." His candid admission revealed that behind the polished public image of royal dignity and restraint, the family members are apparently just as capable of getting into heated arguments over property trades and rent payments as any ordinary family gathered around a board game on a rainy afternoon. The specific incidents that led to the